I want to look at the Moodle page again today, so I'm going to pull it up in part because I've figured out when we're going to have our test. I want to help you get prepared for the test. And so I'm going to pull the Moodle page up and then share it with people at home. At least I think I want to. There it is. Can the folks at home see the Moodle page?
Yes.
Thank you. By the way, for folks at home, starting next week, Zoom has changed its settings. The Zoom meeting will work, but I have to individually let you in. So it's some kind of security measure, which, just makes this all the more fun, but it's okay. It's not that many people to let in. But today, most of you Zoomed in early. So if you could always try to Zoom in maybe about 10 minutes early, I'm gonna have to individually let you into the meeting. And so if you can think to do that, fine. And so once I get into the lecture, it's gonna be hard for me to go back over here and check to let people in. And that's just something that Zoom itself is starting. It's not something CMO can control. So the test will be a week from Friday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up literally at 12:01 Friday morning, and I'm going to have it available to take all weekend long. So it will close at 11:55 Sunday night. So what that means is I'm hoping that by giving you Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there's a convenient time in there for you to take it. Once you start the test, you can't get out and then retake. So once you start it, you need to plan to stay there to take it. And let me double check something here. You'll have 60 minutes to complete the test. It's all objective stuff from Moodle. And so it'll be true, false, multiple choice, and a few questions might be matching, like a term to a definition, but all of it will be graded by the Moodle exam bank that I have created. And so you'll be able to know your test score almost immediately. It is very doable in a 60-minute time frame. But just keep in mind, if you Friday morning at 9, you think, I'll take the test, and you're like, I don't want to, and you try to log out, you won't be able to go back in. So you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to take it, but just pick the hour that you want to spend on it and make sure you won't be interrupted. Okay, so hopefully, I know some teachers, they just open it up for a 24-hour period, but that might be the day that you work, and hopefully over a 3-day period, even if you work some, hopefully you don't work 72 straight hours. If you do, you need a new job. And so hopefully that'll be helpful. Now, I did want to help you study because we've had a lot of information, even though we've only had a few chapters. The test focuses more on the material on the Moodle page than it does the book, but there is material from the book. So how best to study for this exam? The exam will cover mass media, books, newspapers, and magazines. So the 4 first topics. The test is also worth 75 points. So, and even though it's a little over a week away, I wanted to help you in case you should start kind of studying now as soon as you get your newspaper article thing done. But the Moodle page is designed to help you. So topic 1 is on the test, and under topic 1, you need to go in and read these other information files. Hopefully you have been doing that. But like you've got You know, an introduction to mass media. You have mass media postmodernism. And then every topic has its own study guide. So here's the study guide for topic 1. You need to know these terms, this important person, and these concepts. So what I would do, if you've been ignoring the Moodle page, don't do that for the next test, but there's still time to catch up. There's just like a couple different sections I would read on Moodle, and I would pull this up and make sure I knew all of these. The tests come from the study guides. They're not the exact questions, but they're the concepts you need to know. And so some of these are in the book. There are a few things from the book. I'm not ignoring the book, but if you definitely want to read everything on the Moodle page. There's just 4 areas. And the Moodle page is more specific to that. But like John Milton has mentioned in both places. So study guide for topic 1 is there. And again, you have an introduction to this topic, you have postmodernism, and you have the study guide. On topic 1, there were 3 forums. Hopefully you've done those because you can't do them anymore now. One thing I've never explained about these forums, that I'm going to explain now, is in my even my 200 level courses, I have fewer forums, but they're more involved, and I grade them as they come in. These are more participatory, and so I kind of get them all in, and then I give you one big grade worth the number of points the syllabus says. But I think what I'm going to do in the next week is go in and look at the ones you've done and just give you a little feedback, like you're right on with how you're doing them, you need to do better, so that you have some idea if you're doing them right. But I plan to kind of click on your name and print all your forms out and grade them at one time. But this week I'll give you some little feedback to make sure you're doing it right. So then the test will cover topic 2 or books. And under that you have the origins of books, the industry of books. So 2 sections, yes?
Is the test on a lockdown browser?
What now?
Is that on like a lockdown browser? You know how like some teachers put on like a lockdown browser for like it records when you take the test, or is it just like on the Moodle page?
I don't know what that means. I don't know what a lockdown browser is. So it's just on, are you talking about the test? Or
The test, yeah.
Yeah, it's a test on Moodle.
Okay.
You mean, is a lockdown browser where you can't go back?
It's like when you start taking the test, like it records you, so then like you can't like look down or like you like look down like look.
Oh, no. I mean, the way my tests work is that, thank you, I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I know you're
My tests, the questions are randomized.
okay.
So one person might get one set of questions, another person will get the same. They're from a big test bank over the same topic, but it kind of helps keep from cheating. I guess that's what a lockdown's for. No, you won't be recorded when you take the test. When you're done, just submit it. That's a good question, thank you. So then under the book study guide, these are the terms, important people, and concepts. So again, in the readings on Moodle, these things are there, and some of these things are in the book. But again, if you have to focus your study, focus more on the little sections on the Moodle page. But if you know the things on the study guide, that might be another way to do it, is print off the 4 study guides. And as you go through the book or you go through these, you can highlight them. So each section has a study guide. So then topic 3 is newspapers, and there you have the origins, modern era, newspaper writing, and another study guide. So again, these are to help you prepare for the test. And then the 4th one is magazines. And it's got a study guide. So the test will cover the first 4 topics. You have 4 little study guides. Focus more on the little sections on Moodle than the book, although there are a few test questions from the book as well. Any questions about that? The study guides more than anything will help you make sure you're focusing your study right. So why do we have this textbook if I'm focusing more what's on here? Because imagine how boring class would be if I came in and read what was on the Moodle page. So the book is to supplement it. There are some test questions from the book. There is some overlap, and none of the chapters in the book are very long. You can read almost every chapter in 30 minutes or less. So, but in order to focus my studying, be sure and read the Moodle page for all 4 topics. Any questions? Any questions at home? Okay. So the next thing you have to do is Sunday night you have the news article due. We already talked about that last class. I want you to submit it in a Word document. There is a place to submit it on the Moodle page. Don't email it to me. Anybody have any questions about that since we talked about it Tuesday? So yes.
I might stay up and talk to you more about it because that's when it kicked me out, so I missed a little bit of it.
Okay, yeah, that'd be fine. Stay a little bit after and we'll talk about it. So the newspaper thing is 25 points and the test is 75 points. So in the next 7 or 8 days, you'll make about 100 points. Also, as we're wrapping up topic 4, you should have done your forums all the way up to forum 6, although forum 6 is this week. So I would also say focus on your news article, because that's due Sunday. Then by midweek next week, make sure your first 6 forums are done. I will give you feedback on the first 4 or whatever you have in there. And then the test will be coming up and it'll be on the Moodle page and all objective questions. I want to do over the Moodle page because I know you can read it on your own, but sometimes explaining it's very helpful. And it would be a detriment if you focused on the book to the exclusion of the stuff on the Moodle page. That would hurt you. So print out those study guides and study according to those and you'll be fine on the test. The study guides are not a trick. The study guides are a real guide to what's on the test. Okay, can you guys at home now see the slides? Or can you see the PowerPoint versus the Moodle page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so we started just very briefly chapter 4 the other day. I think we got to this slide and we started talking about a part of this. Again, too, if any of you guys have any questions about assignments too, feel free to email me. If you have emailed me, you'll find I always email back within 24 hours. Sometimes if I'm at my computer, I do it almost instantly. But if you get to doing the homework assignment this weekend and you have a question, email me. Now, hopefully, I'm not always as efficient on the weekends because sometimes I'm actually trying to take a day off. But email me and I'll try my best to help you. Okay, so we're talking about cyber media, how everything began to change with the internet. And just checking where we're starting. Okay, so we talked a little bit about media convergence and how the internet kind of tore down the walls between the different mediums. And now journalists and PR practitioners and advertising students and public relations students deal in a world that is converged. So you have to be versant in how to deal across platforms. So, you know, most newspapers, in addition to a print version, they have an online version, and they do very hard, work very hard at also having podcasts or recorded material for you. TV stations today and radio stations today, in addition to broadcasting things on the airways, they put things on their website. And so really all forms of media are kind of commingled or converged. Now, the book talks about the 3 primary influences on content. And they said one of the influences is there are more and more people who can create their own content, right? We have this notion of what we call citizen journalists, or even we can create things if we want to, if we have a personal computer and the ability to do it. So the internet has made creation of media easier and more accessible. So a second way, in addition to how we create media, the internet has affected how we distribute it. I think that's kind of self-evident. You can get more and more information than ever before. And so I am drawing a blank on the third one: distribute, create, and store. There's different ways that we can have media be influenced. And there's now more of a worldwide phenomenon than ever before. You know, when computers first came onto the scene, sometimes there were limitations to the content because there wasn't a broad enough bandwidth, or there were just limitations until technology got better and better and better. And your book talks about now, even countries like Rwanda have smart initiatives. Your book gave an example of Rwanda, which is not a country we consider to be as advanced as a lot of the major global powers, but they had a partnership, and it was called something like Smart Kigali. And Kigali is the capital city of Rwanda. I actually, in the 1990s, went to Rwanda. It's a beautiful country, but it's not technologically advanced, or at least it wasn't in the 1990s. But even they have kind of a worldwide presence in Kigali by using the internet. And so it really is a worldwide phenomenon. A lot of industries kind of had to realign themselves because of the internet. Magazines tried to go online. Some of them survived, some of them didn't. Some of them went out of business, but they had to change who they were because of the internet. And of course, music has changed because of the internet. What are some changes the music industry has undergone because of the internet? Yeah.
You can get a lot of free music online, just through YouTube.
Yes. What were you gonna say? Yeah, so that's really kind of hurt the artist, I think, and hurt some of the music companies. On one level, you can be discovered, right? You can put, almost anybody can put anything out there, but your music is often being stolen, and people are getting paid what they're worth, although some people have used the internet to market as well. The age of pixelization, there's just a couple paragraphs in the book about that. And pixel is just kind of like, you've seen it when, if you've ever watched like DirecTV or your satellite, and it's raining out and little images get broken up into almost little squares or whatever, they're little pixels. The age of pixelization is just talking really about digital media and how because of this technology that we really can only need one media source, you know, a smartphone, and you can access everything. You can access books, you can access magazines, you can access Netflix, Amazon, and you can download a book right in your hand. Any questions about that? You guys probably don't remember a time before the internet, do you? Because based on your age, I wouldn't think you would. I remember before the internet, and I love that we have the internet now. One of the things that the book talks about is the difference in news engagement. How, not just news, but also advertising and other things, but engagement with the media has changed with the internet. Prior to the internet, the media themselves kind of push things on the audience. For example, prior to the internet and prior to kind of HBO and the explosion of cable, you had basically, 3 TV stations, ABC, CBS, and NBC. And if you were a television viewer, you were kind of a captive audience. So they could push a lot of things onto you, commercials and things like that. Now today, because we have such a fragmented media system and media's everywhere, and you're not a captive audience to them. There's more of the audience is pulling the media to them. They have to kind of meet us where we are. The gatekeeping role still exists, but it's different. I think we've talked about gatekeeping before. Gatekeeping is where somebody gets to decide what information gets out and what doesn't. When you only had 3 TV stations, that was much more limiting because you had basically 3 TV stations letting out what you could. Well, now, I don't even know how many TV stations you get with cable, but it's hundreds. And then if you look at other outlets as well. So with the internet, it's hard to be a gatekeeper and keep information out. So it's still there, but it's just not as dramatic the more mediums that you have. One of the nice things with cyber media is that you have what feels like almost limitless archiving. You can store things and you can organize things in a variety of different ways. That's very, very efficient. And the average person, I would think, would have almost unlimited storage, or you can buy external hard drives and add to your storage, that kind of thing. But archiving material has become much more democratic, if you will. One of the ways that it affects things, not that you guys care that much about it, but I'm a historical researcher. So the kind of research that I do, I go to archives and dig through boxes and try to find things and learn new things that maybe nobody's ever written about. Today, a lot of archives are digitizing their resources. And they're having to do it in part because of COVID. So for example, the Eisenhower Presidential Library, which is where I go a lot of times to do research, they haven't been open in a long time. You can still reach them and they do things for you. But they do have some documents online. So if you log on, you might be able to search and find something you need and print it right there. So digitized archives is becoming more and more prevalent. It's also easier just to do normal research or regular research for class. In my day, you had to go to the library. Now you just log into the library. So the limitless archiving is really nice. The interactivity of the internet makes interpersonal communication a little bit different. Instead of just maybe 2 people in a room having a conversation, you're having a conversation over instant messenger, or you're having maybe you're FaceTiming or Facebook Messenger or something, but interpersonal communication is now a little less personal sometimes because of the devices you can use. The book talks quite a bit about Steve Jobs. What do you know about Steve Jobs? He what?
He invented the iPhone.
He invented the iPhone. He reminds me a little bit of David Sarnoff. who thought every home ought to have a radio, every home ought to have a TV. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates thought every home ought to have a home computer. And so he was early in that kind of race to getting home computing with Bill Gates. Have any of you guys seen a movie called The Pirates of Silicon Valley? It's about that whole Bill Gates, Steve Jobs thing, and who got, who won that race. And it's a really, really good movie. I've tried to find it to stream it, and it's hard to find. It was made for TV. But Steve Jobs was a visionary who thought we should have computers in our home. He came up with the iPhone. He came up with many, many other inventions. And he talks about what happened in kind of a couple of different stages. Before he died, he talked about how all of this kind of began in the 1980s with a computer revolution, that he and Bill Gates started a computer revolution with their different companies, Apple and IBM. And the computer became, put into individual homes and gave people power in a way they never had. And then he talks about how that kind of morphed into not just a computer revolution, but an information revolution. Imagine what's on the tip of your fingertips today. You can just go in your room or your office or the library or Starbucks or wherever, and with your phone or your laptop or your tablet, you can look up enough information, to do a research paper almost in half an hour. Now you still have to read the information and write it, but finding what you need is like that. So we had a computer revolution, an information revolution, and Jobs talks a lot about how that really, changed everything. In addition to the computer and internet revolution, there's also a discussion of a digital lifestyle. I wonder how many of us could live one day without our digital, I don't know what to call them, toys, our digital tools. And before it sounds like I'm an old professor calling you guys, dependent on your devices, I'm just as dependent on my devices as you are. So it's a part of our culture. We had the computers come in and make us rich in many ways in terms of information, internet where we're connected, and then just this digital lifestyle where we're connected, but in some ways, don't you feel there's an impersonal nature to the connectivity, which is why people are so mean on social media, right? So maybe not your friends to you or my friends to me, but in general, people are willing to post the most hateful things on social media. And I think it's in part because of the impersonal nature of posting to the world. One thing I kind of liken it to, it makes sense to me, it may not make sense to you, but I don't have a terrible temper. I'm pretty patient, pretty calm. But sometimes when I'm in traffic, if I've been stressed all day, and somebody does something really stupid in traffic, it just makes me angry. And I try not to honk too much because you never know if that's going to escalate somebody else to getting mad and what that means. But sometimes people will honk or make signs at other people who are driving because they're in another car and you don't really expect to ever see them again, right? I think sometimes angry posting on social media is kind of like that. You're just posting your opinion about something because it matters to you, and you don't think about all the people out there that might be watching it. I'm also not trying to tell you how to post. I'm surprised what people will put on Facebook and social media outlets. I try, if you ever see my posts, I try to only put positive things out there because who wants to know I've had a bad day, So I save that for friends, not for social media. So kind of going back to the notion of the internet, one of the things that makes it different is there's a lot of content creation, how things are created. There's a lot of user-generated content. How many of you guys follow at least one blog? Anybody? I used to follow a blog. I don't really follow anymore just because it's not related to my job. But many years ago, I was a religion reporter. And as I've told you guys before, I have a master's in religion. And so religion is a topic that's fascinating to me. So I used to read, I think it was called Get Religion. And it was just stories about what was going on in the world related to religion. And it was written by really good reporters. And they would write about a story, then they would put some kind of opinion or something about it. But it was a really reputable organization. And I used to read it all the time. I don't have time to now. And religion really isn't the focus of my job anymore. So I don't watch it or read it. Huffington Post is a blog that a lot of people respect as one that she started early on in the internet, saying that she was going to do news on the internet and capitalize on it. And it's really been very, very successful. How many of you guys use Twitter? Okay. So not just read them, but tweet yourself. Do you tweet?
I mainly just like retweet stuff that I like. I don't really tweet myself.
Okay. I think I need to do that more, but I don't know, it's just by the time you grade papers, come to class. But I feel like Dr. Kavanaugh and Dr. Buck and Dr. Stepanuk, I think, do tweeting. And I feel like if I want to be hip like them, I should be tweeting too. I do Facebook and try to use Facebook to promote some things we do with PRSA and some things we do for the department. Facebook is not as popular with your generation now though, right? Is that right? Do you guys do Facebook anymore?
I stay on like my mom likes to tag me and stuff. And that's how like a lot of my like distant families on there, so I keep contact them.
Okay. I mean, I am an older person, so my generation kind of got on board. Maybe we ruined it for you guys, I don't know. But I like Facebook because I connect with family and friends. And then I have professional associations, you know, how we talked about trade associations. I'm a member of the Journalism History Division of AEJMC. And so their stuff is on there. So there's a little business on there for me, a little personal. So I like Facebook a lot. I am very careful what I post. And you guys you should be too, because even though it may seem harmless today, future employers can see what you're putting out there. Last year when I was still the chair of the department, one of the things I wanted to do was increase our social media. So I got an intern to do videos for us. And I was putting them, well, she was actually doing it for me, a lot of videos on social media. We had 2-3 videos about the department every week. And I actually got a call from somebody in, I want to say Tennessee, maybe in Alabama, but they called and said, somebody I knew before. And they said, I've noticed what your department's doing. And we think, you know, what you're doing there, you should come here. Would you be interested in applying for a job? And I said, no. But that struck me as our posting, our social media here caught the attention of another university elsewhere. So it could have a negative effect too if I was posting bad things. So that's the main point I'm trying to make. And just be careful what you post. Email has made us more accessible. When I went to college, I went to the University of Missouri and got a journalism degree, and I went there in the 1980s. I graduated in '85. I sometimes never spoke to one of my professors, and we had bigger classes. Some of the classes I was in were this big, and the auditorium was full. And sometimes we had smaller skills courses, but you just didn't really have access to your professors. It's not that they weren't good teachers. And I've often thought about the access that you have because of email and how it's changed the relationship between the student and the teacher. And I think it's a really good thing. You know, if you're doing your homework this afternoon and the instructions I put online that are clear to me are not clear to you, it's a good thing that you can just reach out and say, I don't understand what this means. I think it's wonderful, but that email has bred access, which is 99% good. The only time it's not good is not necessarily with students, but just sometimes you just don't want the whole world having access to you. So sometimes when I've had enough, I will leave my cell phone at home for a day because I just don't want to get all the text and all that stuff. Texting has also changed things. I like texting. I think it's important. I do think it's created some dangers because we can't stop texting, like when we're driving or other times. But I think these things, you can see how this user-generated content has just transformed us as a culture. And any MMJ students who are thinking of becoming reporters, oh my goodness, this makes your life easier, right? You can take a picture on your phone and send it in. Again, I'm not trying to juxtapose old and new, but when I was a reporter, my first few jobs, I worked for kind of small papers, so I had to take my own pictures plus write my own stories. You know, you had to go back to the newsroom and you had to process the pictures and process the prints. And then, you know, a couple hours later, you could look to see if you had anything. Now you just take it, shoot it, and there you go. What day is this, Thursday? Tuesday, the Southeast Missourian interviewed me because I'm an Eisenhower researcher. And today at 7 o'clock tonight, they're dedicating the Eisenhower Memorial in Washington, D.C., and they just wanted somebody locally to talk about it. So the reporter called me, really good reporter, asked me a bunch of good questions. And he was looking for a photo to go with it of the monument. Well, I didn't have them, but I knew who to contact. So I contacted the Eisenhower Memorial Commission, somebody on their staff who contacted their Creole person. And less than 1 hour, I think it was even quicker than that, he had a photo to go with the story. And it just, you know, would have taken a lot longer in the old days. So they had a bunch of photos digitized and just let him pick one. So it goes to reason that if it affects the content we create, the information we can gather, it also affects our pocketbooks, right? I think one of the biggest things about online commerce for me personally, I love to buy people Christmas gifts. For whatever reason or whatever holiday you celebrate, for whatever reason, giving people gifts makes me happy. I get that from my mom. I just love to find the perfect gift for my brothers, or perfect gift for my sister, something I know that's just perfect for them. But I hate shopping during the holiday season. Don't make me go to the mall and bump into people and all that stuff. I buy Christmas now almost exclusively on Amazon. And I still get thoughtful gifts, but to me, that's one of the biggest differences is you never have to go to a store. So there's a lot of sales sites. Amazon.com, we've already kind of talked about. You can purchase domain names for something that you might want. I've been thinking about, but haven't done yet, that I'm an author, and I really think I ought to have an author web page. So when one of my books comes out, I can promote it, and I just don't have the time. And so one of these days, I'm going to buy a domain name and make myself a website. The commercial marketplace is out there. A thing I've discovered during the pandemic that I really love is Instacart. That's not really a website for sales the way Amazon is, But they do have, you log in and you can buy groceries from Aldi's or Snooks, and I think it's Target and Petco. And if it's over $30, they deliver to your house for free within a certain region. So since we shut down in March, I almost never go to the grocery store anymore. I just go on the website, order some milk and bread and things, and it shows up. It's made us pretty lazy consumers. We've already kind of talked about digital music and streaming media. Is everybody here stream Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or something? Yeah, we all pretty much do that. And it's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, I love to binge watch something. Something comes out, and like in November, the 4th season of The Crown is coming out. You guys may not have liked The Crown, but that's been a really good miniseries. They've done like 10 episodes for 3 seasons of what Queen Elizabeth was like as a young woman, and they've come up, and season 4 is going to feature Princess Diana, and that's been a very popular series. But November, when it comes out, if I'm not super busy, I will probably watch all 10 episodes in one weekend. That's really indulgent and silly, but I love doing that. And I know that I'm not the only one, because binging is a term that used to mean something completely different than it means now because of Netflix. Anybody have any questions, by the way? Okay. You okay at home? Hope you are. It's almost impossible to overstate the impact of online dominance in terms of what's out there, how you can target certain groups. One group of people that's really easy to market something to online is moms. They have very active groups where they share things, and if they find a product they love, they share it with other moms, and so they can go viral pretty quickly. The market potential is amazing. The interdependence between, something I might Google on my computer and Facebook, something I might watch on my TV, and how they use cookies to get a profile of what you like is kind of scary. It's called behavior targeting. It's very effective in the fact that they do put before me ads of things that I'm interested in seeing. I don't always necessarily buy things. So in cyber media, these are kind of the main topics that this particular chapter covers. We've talked about sort of the media landscape and how it's changed. We used to have very traditional media that were siloed off, and broadcast was broadcast, print was print, and they had a certain power in that. They almost were able to push what they wanted to off onto the audiences, because they were also they weren't as fragmented. With the new fragmented media brought to us by the internet, we have sort of new audience engagement. Our audience is very, very engaged with what we do. And one of the things I find interesting when I go online to look at the articles that the Southeast Missourian do is I always like to see who's commented on stories. So people will comment on stories quite a bit, and that to me is always kind of fun. Steve Jobs kind of gives us a historical model that you can read about, how we generate content and online commerce and online dominance. Those are the key aspects of that chapter. Any questions about any of that? Other than we're going to talk, any questions about the assignments? I hate that we're getting out early, but on the other hand, we've covered what we need to cover to get where we need to be. Other than numbers 1 through 3 on the forums, those you shouldn't touch after now. I don't know if the computer would even let you. Make sure by the middle of next week that you do forums 4, 5, and 6, and then you'll be all caught up. And again, these are a little different. They're more just, are you participating? Are you putting insights in? If any of you have me in an upper level class, they're much more structured and I grade them every time you post them. I'll give you some feedback by middle of next week on them. And if there's no other questions, let me come. Any questions from home?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that I wasn't here when you did roll because my computer wasn't working. So I came a little late and I apologize for that.
That's okay. We're all doing the best we can, but I'm glad you said something. I want to count you present. Anybody else log in, you think, after we started? Thank you, Morgan.
No problem. Have a good day.
You too. I'm going to lock these guys out and then I'll come clean your seats.